Welcome to a special edition of the Nightly Nuge. And Mr. Nugent, why is it so special today?
Well, because freedom is on the line. Here it is in November of Cluster Crank 2022, where evil is just permeating every element of our society. And there are warriors on the front lines to stop that evil. Good over evil, the foundational values of defiance and critical thinking and suspicion of authority is now coming to a head. And you and I, Keith, take this on every day. But we have another warrior fresh out of the mountains of the freedom hunting season of 2022. We have Donald Trump Jr., who has always been on the front lines. So on behalf of all the good, hardworking families in the asset column of America, Don, welcome and thank you for your relentless pursuit of good over evil and constitutionality over the communism that is around every corner. Don Jr., welcome to the Ted Nugent Nightly Nuge every damn day.
What's going on, guys? How's it going? Great to be with you guys, as always.
Yeah, well,
Spirit
thanks.
Warriors.
Last week, Don, Ted went through really all of the most critical issues that are on the ballot, dissected them one by one, talked about what he felt was the good side of the equation versus the bad. And today, what we'd like to do with you is let's just throw out some races, because I know you have some strong feelings about most, if not all of these, Don. Ted does as well. And I think our listeners would like to hear what you guys think about these races. Obviously, I want to talk about some of the most critical states that are out there. Let's start with Arizona, probably one of the most watched elections in the country as far as governors go. It's that Kari Lake, Katie Hobbs race down there. But don't overlook the fact that there's a very close Senate race there with incumbent Democrat Mark Kelly and Blake Masters from the Republican side. What's your take down in Arizona, Don, and who are you supporting down there?
Listen, Kari's great. She's become a very good friend. She's actually out there fighting. She's got, she's willing to step in and engage with the radical leftists the way we need to. She's just no holds barred. I love that. I think Blake Masters in the Senate, that would be, that'd be literally one of my favorites to have in there. Young guy, smart guy, actually is super conservative, but with a tech background. So he understands the battlefield that we are up against. He understands the insanity that we are up against. And, Mark Kelly, it's sort of amazing. Like, a couple of years ago when he first ran, you're like, oh, well, he's an astronaut. Like, watch the guy in a debate. He's an empty suit. It's actually hard to believe that this guy actually accomplished anything in his life. Like, he became an astronaut. I imagine that takes something. But you see him function out of that space and you realize, he's a one-trick pony. Literally, probably, one of the guys most overrated in there. I saw the debates. I'm like, oh my God, he's got nothing. Like, he doesn't even appear to be an intelligent human being. And I'm not saying that, like, he's not John Fetterman. That guy's brain dead, like, literally. And the Democrats are trying to get him across the line in Pennsylvania in the United States Senate. I'd like to hear Ted's thoughts on this, but I've been called all sorts of things. I've been called ableist in the last week, which is like, you're racist against people with disabilities, right? That's their newest line. It's like, it's not racist to people with disabilities to expect a United States Senator to be able to have cognitive function, to not be brain dead. That's not like saying, well, he's in a wheelchair and he can think. That's totally great. Like, that'd be wonderful, but he's incapable of forming a complete sentence. And yet the Democrats are now trying to say, no, we should have a brain dead United States Senator because somehow, not voting for him is racist. We'll get to Pennsylvania in a little bit, but that as I digress. But the Mark Kelly thing in Arizona, he's for open borders. He's a rubber stamp for all the Democrat causes, but they all try to do that moderate thing. I'm a moderate because I was an astronaut. Well, he's not. Just look at his voting record. He's not moderate at all. He'll be an attack on the Second Amendment. He's for open borders. Now he's pretending he's not now, but just look at where he voted and look at what he voted to spend money on. Biden's insane spending stuff. So Arizona is really important. I think you also have with Abe Hamadeh, you also have a great chance to get a really strong attorney general in that state. And we've seen how important that is. So in Arizona, you just got to go, Kari Lake, Blake Masters, Abe Hamadeh, and just, get those three in there. And don't forget all the down ticket races. I think the one thing that we've perhaps missed the boat on is, we get focused on president and senator and even congressman and governor, and they're all really important. But like, vote for your school board. Find out who they are. The left has indoctrinated our children for decades now by having some, seven-hair colored, multiple, like, weirdo freak who doesn't even want to ever have kids become, the head of the school board and the PTA. And those are the same people that got the FBI and the DOJ involved in literally designating concerned parents and mothers who were concerned about the BS that was crammed down their children's throat in school. They got them designated domestic terrorists. Now, remember, the people who burned down Waukesha and Portland and Seattle for 2 years, those were not domestic terrorists, right? Those were freedom-loving, peaceful protesters, right? Despite murder, arson, looting, rioting, burning down cities, the entire zones, Chaz or whatever the hell they called it. Those were not domestic terrorists, but a parent who went to school being like, I don't want you teaching CRT. I don't want you teaching my child that there's 9,476 genders and they have to learn them. Like, I'd like them to learn math, maybe English. Those people are domestic terrorists, but not people who are actually terrorists. That's why this one's so important, guys. Like, it's become so common that every election's the most important election. Just look at what matters to the Democrats these days. These aren't like the Democrats from Detroit, Ted, that you grew up with, that were hardworking blue-collar Americans. Their biggest issues are like critical race theory, allowing 3-year-olds to decide permanently to change their gender and mutilate their bodies. Like, that's today's Democrat platform. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. And we have to do something about it. Don't let these people have a pass. They locked you down. They made you watch your parents die on Zoom calls. They wouldn't let you in the room with them. They wouldn't let you open up your business. They wanted to shut down schools. They did everything in their capacity to crush your will, your existence, your freedoms, all of the things that we hold so near and dear. And now, as was written in The Atlantic last week, we'd like amnesty for all the things we did, because now we know a little bit differently. Do not give these people a pass. Okay, they have shown what they will do with their power when they get it. Just look at what's going on for the last 2 years. They've shown what they'll do. They've shown they'll weaponize it against you and everything you believe in and your families. We don't want to live in that America, because that America doesn't represent anything America has stood for before. That is the commie version of America, and that's what the Democrats want today.
In my own home state, Don, we've got, Derek Schmidt running against Laura Kelly at the governor's spot. And I can't, as, a conservative Kansan, I can't even believe that those polls are close. We've got our friend Chris Kobach running for attorney general. And the Democrats are running ads that Chris Kobach is anti-constitution. And those of us that know him know
Chris Kobach is one of the hardest constitutionalists I've ever seen in my life. But that's the point. They will run it like, he doesn't believe in the Constitution. Meanwhile, the radical, leftist that's there, no, it's a moderate. I'm like, but if you look at his position, I mentioned J.D. Vance in Ohio. They're doing that with Tim Ryan. Like, Tim Ryan voted for federal funding for illegal immigrant children to have sex change operations. But if you watch the commercials in Ohio right now, you'd think that he was a moderate Republican. He's not. He's a radical leftist. Tim Ryan in Ohio has voted 100% of the time, not less than that, 100% of the time, and I'll let them fact check me, for the Pelosi-Biden agenda since that's been in place. 100%. He's a rubber stamp for Pelosi and Biden. He is a Pelosi Democrat, not a moderate. But again, according to the media, no, he's a moderate. Remember what they told you in Ohio, right? Joe Biden said it in his own, we'd never cancel pipelines, we'd never destroy energy independence, and yet on day one, he signed an executive order ending Keystone. The Democrats, they'll tell you anything they need to hear to win. Once they win, they go to D.C. and they do the bidding of the radical left. There are still moderate Democrats left in America, Keith. There are. There's just none in office because you can't win in office. Chuck Schumer, he's spending $7 billion in this race this weekend, $5 billion in this race, $4 million in this race. Last minute, this is all California, New York money. They're not representing like Democrat Ohio values. They're representing radical California values.
Right.
Pushing those into those races. That's the reality. So while there may be moderate Democrats still left in America, there are none representing you. And I think this is an incredible opportunity for Democrats to take 2 years and to say, hey, Democrats, you better start representing Democrats, not just the lunatic fringe of Hollywood. because that's who they're catering to right now, because that's who's raising them the money. Like, the Democrat Party has to shift back to, you can disagree on certain subjects, but not on like the general well-being of America, not on like our economy at the expense of everything. Like, that's not up for grabs as far as I'm concerned with moderate Democrat voters in America. But it's totally off the table with radical leftist extremists that represent you in government. Send them a message on Tuesday.
Well, Don, we really appreciate you joining us. Ted's got to jump on another interview, and it's just the three of us here visiting. So is your dad going to run?
I don't know, boys and girls. We'll find out. I hope so, because, again, we need someone to get us back on track, right? And then you can let someone else run it from there. But you need, this kind of disaster, this doesn't get fixed with delicacy and little nuance. Like, you need a sledgehammer to fix this economy, to fix this craziness, to fix the global stage. Guess what? Russia was never invading Ukraine if Trump was at the helm.
Well,
but they see Joe Biden, they say, hey, with that kind of weakness, who wouldn't? When's China going into Taiwan? Probably soon, because they see the leadership, I'll put it in air quotes, meaning total lack of leadership coming from Democrats, coming from Joe Biden, who's only slightly more with it than John Fetterman. And they say, this is a perfect time to pounce, because that's the nature of predators. They take advantage of weakness. That's what's going on. That's no different than hunting. They take the weakest of the herd.
If he runs, Don, I love Trump Nugent. And if he decides not to run, I love the idea of Nugent Trump Jr.
Oh, that could be interesting. Ted, we'd certainly get a couple of people's heads exploding on that one.
That would be a couple.
I mean, like 150 million lunatic leftists.
That would be worth the price of admission, I promise you. Well, Don, thank you for standing up. Give our love to Kimberly and the entire Trump family. We so respect and value your activism and your caring about this great nation. We do this on the nightly news, but you represent truth, logic, and common sense that is alive and well out there in America. Now we just have to vote that way, and we can save this country.
Thank you, boys.
Thanks,
Great being with you as always.
God bless you both. Thanks.
Godspeed, man. Good hunting forever, everybody. God bless you, man.